Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan M.S. Pearce. This is a US politics update extra where I'm going to give you some information concerning what ICE is doing, about Alligator, Alcatraz, try and draw some points together, join some dots for you. We're going to start with some worrying news that it appears the US is potentially going to be a place of ideological indoctrination for the children. This is Stephen Miller, or Nosferatu, or Himmler. I don't know what his true name is. But anyway, this is one of the most important people in the White House talking recently.
Children will be taught to love America. Children will be taught to be patriots. Children will be taught civic values for schools that want federal taxpayer funding. So as we close the Department of Education and we provide funding to states, we are going to make sure that these funds are not being used to promote communist ideology. For any nation to be successful, it cannot teach its children to hate themselves and to hate their country. So these are a few of the areas in which President Trump has fought the cancerous communist woke culture that was destroying this country, where we were led to believe that men were women, that women were men, that racial discrimination was good, that merit was bad, and that safety and physical security mattered less than the feelings of liberal ideologues.
Stephen Miller is just mental, but he's a dangerous form of mental. Children are going to be taught to love, because of course you can teach people to love things. They're going to be taught to love America. Well, let's look at what that might be like in Oklahoma. So they're already building the Trump youth indoctrination infrastructure. Oklahoma's state superintendent Ryan Walters proposes an America First assessment for teachers from certain states, raising concerns among local superintendents. What does this mean? Well, if you are a teacher coming in from outside of Oklahoma, from certain states that are deemed to be liberal, you have to take an America First assessment. Places like California and New York, in order to get certification to teach in Oklahoma, you have to be conservative enough. You have to be anti-woke enough. You have to tick these boxes if you're going to be able to teach in Oklahoma. Walter said the test aims to prevent California or New York teachers from coming in if they have liberal ideologies. He said the specifics of the test are still being finalized. Walters also said Oklahoma is experiencing record high teacher recruitment. However, some superintendents have expressed concerns that the assessment could deter potential educators from teaching in the state. Yet, no shit, Sherlock. Essentially, this is all incredibly worrying and making it look like the youth of the US are going to be, I don't know, looking a bit like the Hitler youth. Who knows? It's slightly worrying then that we see Attorney General Pam Bondi, so the head lawyer in the US, firing her personal ethics advisor. The personal ethics attorney has been fired. A career DOJ attorney who spent nearly 20 years at the DOJ has been purged. Why would you do that unless you want to do unethical things? So, what unethical things are going to be happening or are happening? That is the question. And it does seem rather, I don't know, it kind of fits the mold, if you like, that Trump has removed a particular statue or the bust of someone from the White House. Who's he removed? Is it Churchill? No, he's removed civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr.'s bust from the Oval Office. Right, okay, so that's where we're going. So this all seems to be an attempt to penalise people that you don't like, your liberals, and maybe even people who don't look similar to you, and people who are from another country who might have immigrant heritage. Well, that's where we're going to go to next. So just to remind you, so with the big beautiful bill, Congress has made ICE, so the border control agents, the highest funded federal law enforcement agent in history, with more money per year at its disposal than over the next 4 years than the budgets of the FBI, the DEA, the ATF, and the US Marshals and the Bureau of Prisons combined. FBI, Drug Enforcement Agency, Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, US Marshals, Bureau of Prisons, all of them combined, ICE has more money than them. What are ICE doing with that money? Well, this is an insane set of things to have seen. So
troops are now moving down.
We are going to see some military maneuvers from ICE. I'm going to show you 3 videos to indicate this. This is the insane scenes from LA yesterday, actually now a few days back. So this is in LA on July the 8th. They are practicing for something much bigger maybe, or doing some proper activity. Let's turn the sound down a wee smidgen. There we go.
Headed towards central LA right now. You can see lots of reinforcements and a huge presence right now of troops. This is very big.
So what is going on? Well, something that took place is Trump is sending thousands of federal agents to storm empty LA parks, pure political theatre to stoke fear in cities that oppose him. A waste of taxpayer money and deeply disturbing scene in any functional democracy. So this is a park in LA. These are all armed individuals, and none of them are identifiable. They're all covered in balaclavas. Actually, a bit of a mismatch of equipment. So these are probably militia people that have been subcontracted, and they are marching through empty parks in a show of what? I don't know, but it's incredibly sinister, I would argue. Trump's agents are at MacArthur Park in Los Angeles. This video was taken just minutes before. There were more than 20 kids playing. Then Trump's agents came through. This is Trump's dictatorship. I mean, America. So let's have a look at what they're doing here. Slightly sped up. They are just moving through the park on horseback and walking with all their guns and whatnot. Humvees, plenty, etc., etc. Is this normal? I mean, what is going on here? Pretty incredible footage. Are they having any functional impact? What is their function in doing this? Is this just theatre? Well, it's not just theatre, because we've seen an awful lot of stuff take place. This is pretty sickening. So we're going to pop in and see what this report says.
Emotional scene here. The minute that we arrived outside Glass House Farms, we met a sister and a wife of a man who works as a security guard here, George Redis. He is a disabled U.S. veteran. He is a U.S. citizen, and they are desperately looking for him. They haven't heard anything about his whereabouts from yesterday. They do say that he was taken in the raid. We want to show you a picture of 25-year-old George Redis, a U.S. Army veteran who his family again says is disabled. They saw via Air 7 yesterday that he was trying to leave the scene in his white vehicle. Take a listen to what his sister and then his wife told us.
We won't go into details there, but you've got a disabled US war veteran, US citizen, who has been disappeared, right? And by ICE's own admissions, some 70% of the people they've captured do not have criminal records. So, the worst of the people, that's who we're going to get. Well, actually, it turns out that no, they are going around farms, throwing smoke grenades and whatnot. Kids running from tear gas, crying on the phone because their mother was just taken from the fields. Yeah, so this is just more examples of incredible ICE activity here.
They took your mom?
So some guy's mum was taken there. They're just going around the farms with tear gas. Here we have another example. This is in Utah. ICE now marching through suburban neighborhoods, conducting home raids. Their budget is now bigger than that of the Marines and the entire military budgets of Israel and Russia. Coming soon to a neighborhood near you. This is what you can see.
What the fuck is happening?
This is ICE walking down my street. There's got to be 50 of them. What the fuck is going on here?
Just walking through.
Holy
so obviously some swearing there, but just walking through suburban areas and then breaking down doors. So horrifying as alleged ICE agents show up at this family's home. When they're asked them to ID themselves, that's the people in the house asked the ICE agents to ID themselves. They started breaking down the door and smashing the windows. They had their weapons out ready to shoot in front of young kids. This ended up being the wrong address. So they've turned up, demanded stuff, been asked for ID, smashed the door down, have guns in front of kids, and it's the wrong address.
Get over there!
So on and so forth. Next one we're going to come to is this. A male ICE agent assaults women inside a restaurant's women's bathroom, armed with his government-issued handgun. Then he violently resisted arrest himself. It's obviously done wrong. After Long Beach police arrived at the scene, injuring at least one of the police officers. Isaiah Hodgson was released after pleading not guilty to 6 felony and misdemeanor charges while off duty, including assault, resisting arrest, battery on a police officer, and carrying a concealed firearm. It just so happens he was also the agent who brutally arrested a US citizen last month during a widely publicized ICE raid at a Walmart in Pico Rivera, California. So these sorts of incidents are happening all too frequently. What kind of incident? Well, first of all, ICE arresting people using undue force, arresting people incorrectly without due process, whisking people away, disappearing them, smashing down doors, and then when they're off duty, using that power and equipment, I guess, to intimidate others. Here we have an extraordinary account of 6 ICE agents running onto a baseball field in the heart of Manhattan, and saying to the kids, where are you from? And then the baseball coach protecting the kids. All these kids were born in New York City, but now they're not coming to practice. But here's the coach who kind of defended them. We're just going to play the very end here.
It means something's really happening.
Questions? I mean, what happens?
Well, I got some tough New York City kids, but so for them to be scared means something's really happening. So I just told them there's one way into the batting cage and one way out. So I said, everybody get your stuff, get your gear, and go to the back of the batting cage. And I whispered to them, I said, listen, I'm not going to let them get through me. I said, if you guys got to climb this fence and get out of here, and that's what we'll have to do. And I just said to myself, I'm willing to die to make sure that you get home.
So that they could get home to their parents.
I'm willing to die today.
Is that the kind of America that people want? I don't know. So here's ICE again. This is outside 100 Montgomery Street in San Francisco's financial district. As the source says here, if you need any further proof that these newbie ICE hires aren't properly trained, this is it. Real federal officers are trained to de-escalate. They'd call for backup, not run someone down. They'd pull people off the car, not drag them down the street. So this is some pretty incredible footage. I'm actually going to turn the sound down. So most of these guys are trying to protect this one person that's been captured and is going to be thrown into the van.
They're literally taking someone, they're trying to, oh my God. What's going on? What? There are people getting in front of the cars. Oh my God, they're running over the people in the cars. He's gonna get hurt. There are at least 20 people in front of the car. Someone's gonna get run over. Wow, someone's hanging off the car. Oh my God! Oh! Jesus Christ.
Holy shit.
Oh my God.
Oh, shit! What are you gonna say? What are you gonna say, motherfucker? Get the gas! Go! Get the gas down! Get run over! Go! Good job, man!
Absolutely, just incredible scenes. And then you have this kind of like, well, you know, this is what you kind of voted for, the leopards eat your face party situation. This has happened all too often.
Latinos for Trump leader Hector Concho has just been picked up by ICE and is now in the deportation process to get deported. He's a Cuban national that has rallied to vote for Trump and to get people to vote for Trump. Now he's in the deportation process. It's great to see that y'all really thought just because you voted for Trump that Trump was really gonna look out for every one of y'all.
So I'll leave that there, but you get the idea. A number of communities are now kicking off. So Trump used, and they've admitted this, some of the people who actually spoke on behalf of Trump at rallies from the Venezuelan community and the Cuban community, but the Venezuelan community, I've seen them come out and say, we were used. And here you've got examples of like people who were rallying support for Trump for the elections now being put in through the deportation system. So part of the deportation system is the famous Alligator Alcatraz. Now, here is a kind of taste of what it's like. You can see these bunk beds in these cages. You've got open toilets. There's no privacy there, which you'd actually get in a normal prison. But these facilities look pretty poor. Now, it's even been signed Alligator Alcatraz. You can buy caps and merch with Alligator Alcatraz on. It's becoming some kind of cool thing. People having their pictures taken by the sign is absolutely incredible. I mean, it's like, imagine, yeah, we can have our pictures taken by Auschwitz, but it's a recognition of how horrific that is, not how cool that is. Okay, whereas people are now going, yeah, this is really cool. I want to have my picture taken. I want to have I want to get my awesome Auschwitz merch. Really? So then we have Maxwell Frost, who's a Democratic representative who went to Alligator Alcatraz. This is what his thoughts were.
They opened the door. There was about 6 security guards standing there, kind of pushing us back, but we could see in and we could hear everybody. And when those doors opened, you know, what I saw made my heart sink. I saw 32 people per cage, about 6 cages in the one tent. I saw a lot of people, young men who looked like me and people who were my age. People were yelling, help me, help me. I heard in the back someone say, I'm a U.S. citizen. And as we were walking away, they started chanting, leave it that freedom. And looking into these cages, you could see, of course, it was warm and hot within the tent. People were sweating. Some people had taken off the top of their clothing because it was just so hot. Some of them were drenched in sweat. The food we saw is not enough food. They're being fed essentially a small sandwich and a bag of chips. And not just that, but the conditions outside, of course, it's blazing hot. And the fact that the cage comes from the toilet. Number one, not everyone's going to be able to drink as much water. And not just that, but the conditions outside, of course, it's blazing hot. And the fact that
the sound
the
goes
cage comes from the toilet. Number one, not everyone's going to be able to drink as much water as they'd like to because of that inconvenience, but also it's gross and it's disgusting. And this is where people are being held.
So that's Maxwell Frost and others have talked about that. But I find this pretty disturbing. I was watching a closer look on Seth Meyers, and there was a clip from Fox News that really didn't sit well with me.
Tonight, the ice skaters are officially on patrol. Alligator Alcatraz is open for detention, and the first batch of bad hombres are checking into their swamp suites. Democrats, they're not giving the Gator gulag a chance.
I'm sorry, is the burn on Democrats that they're not giving a gulag a chance?
What have we come to that Fox News are like talking about Alligator Alcatraz, effectively a gulag, a concentration camp of sorts, and they're talking about it in this kind of flippant way? It's absolutely despicable. That is normalising something that should not be normalised. Then you've had, as I've reported before, Laura Loomer, who is your right-wing, far right-wing extremist influencer, saying alligator lives matter. The good news is alligators are guaranteed at least 65 million meals if we get started now. Not only is that conveniently the same amount of people, Latino people in the US. So she's not talking about illegal immigrants, I don't know, 11 million illegal immigrants or whatever the number is. She's talking about 65 million people. And that just so happens to be the number of Latinos in the United States. So now she's saying all Latinos should be rounded up effectively. That's how I would read this. All Latinos should be rounded up to Alligator Alcatraz and then eaten by alligators. This isn't about deporting Latinos back to the country you think they should be living in. Like, even if they're, I don't know, third generation or whatever. No, you're Latino, off ski with you, thank you very much. No, it's not just that, but actually you're not just going to get deported. In fact, you're not even going to get deported. You are going to get killed by alligators. And that's what I'm going to advocate for. I mean, it's despicable, absolutely despicable. So here we have a source saying, this is Michael Feinberg, a career FBI agent who was driven out of the agency by Kash Patel and Don Bongino. Read this chilling resignation letter below. In a series of phone calls yesterday, I was informed by you that because I maintain a friendship with a former FBI executive who is a critic and perceived enemy of the current administration, I will not be receiving any of the promotions for which I'm currently being considered, and that I should actually steel myself to be demoted from my present role. Additionally, I was informed that I should expect to be polygraphed about the nature of my friendship. Even with these warnings and admonishments, though, it was never explained what policy, procedure, or institutional norm I'd supposedly violated other than communicating with someone whom our current management finds politically undesirable. Within 5 minutes of our last phone call, an email went out to the office removing me as acting SAC in your absence. It should go without saying to anyone who cares about the Constitution and rule of law that this is not right. Our organisation's motto is fidelity, bravery, integrity, but over the past 6 months there have been too many signs that our current leadership does not understand the last of those words. Earlier this year, the ranks of our senior executives were decimated by forced retirement, and many others were willing to take their places without voicing concern or dissent. The Department of Justice has been ordered to open cases on individuals solely for having the temerity to say that the 2020 election was not stolen, or for having carried out their lawful duties as state-level prosecutors. Few people have pushed back. We sacrificed the names of every special agent who investigated the events of January the 6th, 2021, and an entire public corruption squad in our nation's capital was disbanded for having worked on a related matter. Within our own field office, we shirked our national security obligations in order to move personnel to immigration task forces. our area of responsibility does not actually have a significant population of illegal immigrants, but our leaders wanted press release ready roundups, so we pulled people from congressionally mandated counter-terrorism and counterintelligence duties. I could go on. So you've got movement of people that should be doing all these other massively important jobs going to concern themselves with the rounding up of illegal immigrants or immigrants in general. I recount these events more in sorrow than in anger. I love my country and our constitution with a fervour that mere language will not allow me to articulate, and it pains me that my profession will no longer entail being their servant. As you know, my wife and I are expecting our first child this summer, and this decision will entail no small degree of hardship for us. But as our organisation began to decay, I made a vow that I would comport myself in a manner that would allow me to look my son in the eye as I raised him. It is now apparent that I can no longer both fulfill that vow and continue working for our current leadership. It has been an honour of my lifetime to protect the American people and uphold the Constitution of the United States. Mike. So that's Mike Feinberg, who has gone by the wayside as a result of the activities of the FBI there. Now, Michael Jollet here says, I'm sorry for the long post, but a lot of you who have followed me for a long time, since 2016, when I was one of the first to repeatedly call out Trump for being a Russian asset. I don't know how else to say this. As a person who has studied cults, wrote a bestseller about it, and totalitarian states, I've been attacked on Fox News, berated by the vice president and others, and like many of you, I've gotten death threats. So please believe me when I say this. Things have changed. ICE is going to be the vehicle for fascism in this country. The extrajudicial practices, no warrants, no ID. The masks, anonymity leads to horrors again and again throughout history. The dehumanization of immigrants and Democrats, dehumanization precedes arrests, torture, murder again and again. And by the way, Donald Trump has just come out and said all Democrats are evil and he hates Democrats, all Democrats. So when Fox News went mental and when the right wing went mental about Hillary Clinton using the term deplorables, Trump has come out and said he hates Democrats and that they are evil, and nothing is said whatsoever. Nothing is said. Anyway, no, we are not going to be Nazi Germany because nothing in history matches Nazi Germany, but fascism has arrived in America. Here is how it's going to happen. I've talked about this previously. I've talked about this among my friends. I used to argue this from 2016 onwards, that Trump is fascistic, and people think fascism can only be represented by Nazis in brown shirts. That the German fascism of the late 1930s and 1940s is the only form of fascism. No, you can have fascism in the 21st century, and it will look rather like the state of play in the United States in the early stages of that kind of fascism, with people who are clearly fascistic at the helm, like Stephen Miller, who I would argue is an outright, open, overt fascist. So anyway, this source says, but fascism has arrived in America. Here is how it's going to happen. ICE will be the vehicle, the Gestapo empowered by the president to enforce his will, first among vulnerable, undocumented people, then among legal immigrants, then among political rivals, then among citizens who speak out against the Trump grift. You've already had Trump saying that he is considering moving American criminals to gulags now, as in outside prisons outside of the US, sorry. This is not hypothetical, it's happening. That big dumb racist bill, so the big beautiful bill, gives $170 billion for an organisation which has no respect for the Constitution, no oversight, nothing but marching orders from a couple of racist, power-hungry madmen. $170 billion to build hidden prisons with no oversight. To put this in perspective, this is 62% larger than the entire federal prison system. $170 billion to drag people out of their places of work, parks, homes. $170 billion to hire racist little man babies who hide their faces as they assault children, old people, and pregnant women. How do you think this goes? How has this ever gone in history? We are entering a dark period. Our only hope is to draw the line now, to stick up for our friends and neighbours, our co-workers and loved ones who are undocumented and being hunted. If morality or empathy for them is not enough to motivate you, fine. Then let this be your motivation. If you don't draw this line, you are next. Do you think Trump will grow a conscience? Do you think Stephen Miller will have any trouble going from these people are criminals, them, to these people are helping criminals, you by being against Trump, to we must arrest the traitors opposing our efforts to arrest criminals, you or anyone You care about who publicly opposes Trump. Do you think Republican congressmen are going to care to lift one finger to protect you, to do anything which gets in the way of Trump's agenda? A person who has no problem letting children with cancer die in order to put a few dollars in the pockets of rich men will have no problem with letting Democrats and activists rot in jail for trying to stop it. This has happened again and again throughout the world, and now it's happening here. I wish I had concrete plans. I don't. Not now. All I know is the first step for change is identifying the gravity of the truth. And the truth is fascism has arrived in America, and we must stop it in its tracks, or it will swallow all of us. So you could say that that is very robust rhetoric, and that is overreacting. But when you have Humvees full of troops driving through Californian cities and troops are, fully armed, what looks like troops whose identity is hidden, and those similar ones on horseback moving through parks, when you have people being thrown tear gas at on farms and parents being disappeared, and even veteran soldiers who are citizens of the United States being disappeared, you're in a problematic time frame here. So that's Mikhail Jollett there. Then you have Trump saying things like this, and this to me is deeply worrying. So this is referring to Zoran Mamdani, who won a Democratic primary. So he's not mayor of New York. He was running against people like Andrew Cuomo, who's had controversies himself with sexual impropriety. Anyway, Mamdani won, and he won on the basis of, yes, progressive policies, but also, and interestingly, many of those policies wouldn't be seen as particularly far left in Europe. But things like free bus travel and so on. But he just went through the neighborhood, spoke to people. He's very engaging. He's very charismatic, and he won the vote, right? And so now the right is going nuts that some kind of progressive has won a democratic vote. And so listen to the reaction and ask yourself, does this go into the pot of transparency and democracy and freedom and all these positive ideals, or does it go into the pot of fascism, anti-democratic ideals, or whatever? Whatever thing you're thinking about, which pot does it go in? If we're going to be basic and binary here. As President of the United States, said Trump, I'm not going to let this communist lunatic destroy New York. Rest assured, I hold all the levers and have all the cards. I'll save New York City and make it hot and great again, just like I did with the good old USA. So he's threatening Mamdani because he has all the cards and holds all the levers, that somehow Mamdani is not going to be able to run for mayor in the open election proper, because Trump doesn't want him to, because he's ideologically not aligned. This is looking more and more like someone who is going down an autocratic route towards a very insidious fascism. Or maybe not even insidious, just freaking overt. What other worrying elements to what is going on here? Let's go to CNN.
Tonight, racist rhetoric, conspiratorial rants, and ties to a Holocaust denier. That is just some of what a new investigation from CNN's K-File has uncovered about the person President Trump has picked to protect whistleblowers and root out government corruption. That person is 30-year-old Paul Ingrassia, a Trump loyalist who's been nominated to lead the Office of Special Counsel. And according to K-File, Ingrassia has a long documented history of inflammatory rhetoric, including claiming that, quote, straight white men are the most intelligent demographic group and should be prioritized in education. K-File's Andrew Kaczynski is out front. Andrew, first, tell us what you found.
Well, Brianna, Ingrassia is just 30 years old. He was just admitted to the bar last summer, and his only government experience is 6 months in this administration as a department liaison and an internship during Trump's first term. Now Trump wants him to lead this Office of the Special Counsel, which is really a role that is designed to operate independently from the White House and protect whistleblowers inside the government. And what we found was, while he doesn't really have very much government experience, what he does have is a very long track record of controversial and inflammatory public statements. And I want to walk some of our viewers through just a few of them. Let's take last year, for instance, on the...
Okay, so then he goes and details all the claims concerning this person being put in a pretty important position, being racist, conspiracy theorist, a 9/11 truther, and having affinity for white nationalists and Holocaust denial. So a real piece of work being put into an important position. And then we have ex-FBI agent charged in the Capitol riot, now working on the Justice Department's weaponisation task force. So you have a former FBI agent that was arrested, charged in the Capitol riots of January the 6th, an insurrectionist, who was then pardoned by Trump and then being put into the department concerning the weaponisation or the weaponisation working group, basically. So former FBI agent who was charged with joining a mob's attack on the US Capitol and cheering on rioters is now working as an advisor to the Justice Department official overseeing its weaponisation working group, which is examining President Trump's claims of anti-conservative bias inside the department. I mean, just these sorts of appointments are happening all over the shop, and it is so disheartening that we have an administration that is hell-bent on retribution, that is hell-bent on weaponizing the DOJ whilst claiming that they were working against DOJ weaponization. It's extraordinary stuff going on, extraordinary. Now, Lorraine Evanoff here, and again, you can say, is this an overreaction? But I would rather overreact than underreact. I knew it, she says. They were up to something. A total overhaul of the US election system, branded as election reform, straight from the pages of Project 2025, written by Russell Fort and Stephen Miller. This isn't theory. This is coming down the road. It's already in motion. This isn't about making elections safer. It's about ensuring Trump can never lose again. What they're preparing is a nationwide takeover of elections through executive power. And if they succeed, free elections are gone. Here's what's being drafted right now, according to the Project 2025. So you can go and read that 900-page book and confirmed by my inside sources, says Evanoff. Ban mail-in ballots, except for the military. So you can't mail in your vote. And that is thought to advantage Republicans, although it's not always been that case. Eliminate early voting, purge voter rolls aggressively, so get rid of people that you don't think should be on the voter rolls. Ban drop boxes nationwide. Use ICE and Homeland Security to monitor polling sites in minority districts. Replace non-partisan election workers with MAGA loyalists. Criminalise non-compliance with new voter ID mandates, even for naturalised citizens. And centralise election authority under the president. So that is all taken from their piece, Trump's Next Power Grab Election Reform, is here in their Substack. But I worry that things like this really are on the cards in the United States. And Nicole Wallace so she's a former Republican, on MSNBC here, also worried.
Charlie, I'm going to say something that people say privately.
Or is it CNN? I think she might be CNN.
All the time and not on TL very often. Something really bad is going to happen. Okay, shit's about to hit the fan in this country. Fox News had to veer away from a lunatic spewing hatred and death threats for Democratic officials in New York because of the migrant caucus. Everyone is on, I don't even know the word. Everyone knows that we're walking into something hideous and no one will do anything. I refuse to believe that nothing can be done. These are people getting their information in part because of the vacuum being created by people with, I don't even know if we call it a spine anymore. That might be an insult to spines. But there are still people out there with followings. He can go out and here's what I want to ask you. When something happens, what do you want to be able to tell your kids and grandkids you did? You good with nothing? You good with, I didn't do anything because I didn't think anyone would listen to me. Trump tweeted something mean about me someday. Because you did something. I tried to do something. Where are all of the Republicans who still have little slivers of a following in the cesspool that is the MAGA base?
That is pretty strong rhetoric there. And it is slightly worrying when, and I know this is just a kind of anecdote here, that okay, this is just one MAGA human amongst many, but this is a sort of this is a sort of thing that really worries me. So you're going to have a MAGA guy go through this realization that actually the speeches of Hitler weren't all that bad, really. There's a bit of swearing coming from the guy who's doing some commentary here, so be warned that there is some swearing, but wow. Sorry, the sound there. There's something. I'm going to sort this out. Here goes.
I grew up listening to the speeches that H-men gave to the German people and troops. Couldn't understand what they were saying, but boy, they sounded menacing. It just sounds evil. Well, now they've got AI that translated it into English. It talks about Christian values and moral integrity and how valuable women are to a society. Damn, it's not quite as bad as I thought it was. And then it talks about the media being so corrupt. It played a big part in the Germans having their culture stolen from them. Damn, these are things we worry about. And, I can't help but think we might have been on the damn wrong side of history.
You hear this dude.
So here's a guy that's saying that, when we came and defeated the fascists in Germany, well, we might have been on the wrong side of history. Now, there's just one person. But there is this worrying normalization of the activities of ICE, of the constraining of freedoms in the United States, the attack on the free press, the removal of the checks and balances in place for the president. And then people going, you know what? That H-man was all right, really. Some of the stuff he said was pretty on point. I think we're on the wrong side of history. I think we should have been fighting with the Nazis.
Use words for the first time in English. The same words Donald Trump, the guy in your hat, is parroting to you. They're poisoning the blood of our country. They're vermin. The press is lying to you. And instead of going, man, I must be wrong because I find myself agreeing with Hitler, you say, maybe he was right.
This is really important. So this is cognitive dissonance reduction, which is like, okay, I've explained this to you heaps of times before, but you got your core belief. You've got evidence against your belief. So your core belief is that Hitler is a bad guy, right? Or your core belief can be Trump is a great guy. You can see this from both angles. So let's start with Trump is a great guy. Then Trump is a great guy. Trump says a bunch of things. I get a translation of what Hitler says. And Hitler says a bunch of things that are very similar to what Trump says. But Hitler is a bad guy. So Trump is a good guy, Hitler's a bad guy. Normally that should be fine because, they can go in the same direction because I can hold in my brain the idea that Trump is a good guy and Hitler's a bad guy because Trump is not like Hitler. But then when the evidence suggests that Trump is like Hitler, we have cognitive dissonance. There's a dissonance in the brain. So the brain has to remove that dissonance. So what do you do? Now, normally you would just, hopefully you would say, well, Hitler's a really bad guy. And that's just a given. And Trump is saying the same things as Hitler. So maybe Trump isn't the good guy I thought Trump was. But instead, he goes, no, that's a core belief. The core belief is that Trump is a good guy. It's not that Hitler's a bad guy. The core belief is Trump is a good guy. And this evidence about Hitler, that gets subsumed by your belief that Trump's a good guy. So Hitler is a bad guy. No, actually, it turns out Hitler is a good guy. And actually, you distort your understanding of Hitler to align with your beliefs about Trump, so that there's no dissonance. That is what's going on here.
You grew up wondering, like I did, how the fuck did Germans allow this to happen to that many people? We are watching it with you happen in real fucking time. This take is beyond embarrassing. It's disgusting and dangerous. Watching you people try and reconcile with the idea that you can't be wrong about anything, which means the other option must be true, which means that guy had some good ideas. You tell me, man, I am fully serious. Look at this photo, and you tell me if you think that we were on the wrong side of motherfucking history.
Guy's angry, and I'm with him. I am with him. You look at Alligator Alcatraz, and then the normalization of Alligator Alcatraz in the news. You look at what Fox News is doing here, and wonder yourself whether they are enabling, whether Fox News are enablers.
Really bad.
Tonight, the ice skaters are officially on patrol.
The ice skaters.
Alligator Alcatraz is open for detention.
Yeah.
And the first batch of bad hombres are checking into their swamp suites.
Checking into their swamp suites.
They're not giving the gator gulag a chance.
Democrats aren't giving Gator Gulag a chance. Hey! Yay! Alligator Alcatraz! Hey! Swamp sweeps! Hey! Justifying the gulags. Got to do something.